The cold metal walls of the alien ship seemed to close in on Captain Jason Black as he sat, shackled to a rusty chair. His once pristine uniform, now dirty and torn, hung loosely on his frame. Sweat trickled down his face, not from fear, but from the intense pressure of his situation. Alone. Captured. And far from home. The alien empire that held him was known across the galaxy for its technological supremacy. Advanced, ruthless, and unforgiving. Jason knew that no human had ever dared to stand against them, let alone survived. Yet here he was, a lone soldier, caught behind enemy lines. The aliens, towering beings with metallic blue skin and glowing eyes, circled around him. Their voices echoed through the dimly lit chamber, speaking in a language that Jason couldn't understand. Their presence was imposing, and their laughter seemed to fill every corner of the room. They had brought him here to mock him. After all, humanity was supposed to be nothing more than a forgotten relic, a species doomed to extinction after Earth's fall. But Jason knew that these aliens were wrong. He remained silent, staring back at them with a defiant gaze. Their words stung, but they wouldn't break him. He could sense their superiority in every glance they exchanged, as if they were already preparing to celebrate their victory. They couldn't understand what they had just captured, a single human, shackled and beaten, yet unbroken. They thought him weak. They thought him defeated. But deep inside, Jason knew something they didn't: humans never give up. A sense of eerie calm settled in the room as the alien leaders gathered around Jason, preparing to make their final decision. The Grand Commander, a tall figure with a silver-plated mask, approached him slowly. His voice boomed, dripping with condescension. "You are a relic of a broken civilization, a failed species. Your world is gone, your people extinct. There is no place for you in this galaxy." Jason could feel the weight of their words, but something else stirred inside him, a burning resolve. These aliens had made the mistake of underestimating him. They didn't know what he had hidden, what they couldn't see beneath the surface of his calm demeanor. As the commander continued to speak, Jason's thoughts raced. Soon, they'll learn. The room fell into a heavy silence. The aliens were preparing to execute him, to end his life and, in their minds, erase humanity from existence forever. But Jason had one final trick left, a last-ditch effort for survival. Hidden beneath the sleeve of his uniform was a small device. A device the aliens hadn't noticed. It was his final weapon, a technology unlike anything they had ever encountered. He had activated it in secret, and it was now pulsing with energy, waiting for the right moment. Jason's hand slowly slid beneath his shirt, his fingers brushing against the cold metal of the device on his wrist. The tension in the room thickened as the alien commander raised a long, curved blade, ready to end his life. "Any last words, human?" the commander sneered. Jason's heart pounded in his chest, but his voice remained steady. "You'll regret underestimating us," he said quietly, his eyes locking onto the commander's. The aliens stopped, confused by his calmness. They had expected fear, desperation, something to prove their power. Instead, they found defiance. Without a word, the commander nodded to the executioners. The blade came down, and just as it was about to strike, Jason triggered the device. The room was flooded with a brilliant blue light. For a moment, everything went silent. The aliens froze in shock, unable to comprehend what was happening. Jason's body was engulfed in the light, his shackles falling away with a loud clatter. Something was changing, something beyond their understanding. The aliens stumbled back, blinking against the sudden brightness. Jason stood, the light around him flickering and dissipating. The transformation had begun. Beneath the light, the sleek form of a high-tech exosuit began to materialize, covering his body from head to toe. It was a masterpiece of human engineering, armored plating, powerful energy generators, and a cloaking device that shimmered as if it was part of the very air itself. The exosuit was powered by advanced AI and an array of deadly weapons, but the most remarkable feature of all was the system's adaptability. It could enhance Jason's physical strength to superhuman levels. The aliens could only watch in stunned silence as Jason's eyes, now glowing with energy, turned towards them. His voice, once calm, now carried a dangerous edge. "You should never have made me angry." The commander stepped back, his mask flickering in disbelief. "What is this? How could a human?" Jason wasted no time. In a flash, he leaped into action. His enhanced strength allowed him to break free from the remaining restraints, sending shockwaves through the room. The first alien guard lunged at him, but Jason easily dodged and, with a single motion, struck the guard down, sending him crashing against the wall. The remaining soldiers scrambled to react, but their technology, their weaponry, none of it was enough to counter the power of the human now standing before them. Jason felt the pulse of the AI inside his suit, guiding his movements, making him faster, stronger, more precise. The alien soldiers opened fire, but Jason activated his cloaking device, vanishing from sight in an instant. The sound of blaster shots echoed through the chamber as the aliens fired blindly into empty air, panic setting in. Jason reappeared in the midst of them, his fists tearing through alien armor like paper. The tension that had once filled the room now shifted to sheer chaos. Explosions rang out as the exosuit's weapons fired, tearing through the alien facility. The aliens were no longer laughing. They were fighting for their lives. The commander roared in anger, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "Bring in the fleet. Now." But it was too late. The human had already proven that he was far from the weak creature they had thought him to be. Jason, standing victorious amid the wreckage, knew this was just the beginning. The aliens had no idea what they were truly up against. And Jason Black, the last of humanity's warriors, had only just begun. Jason Black stood motionless as he was dragged into the heart of the alien empire's command center. The grand chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, with towering walls made of gleaming black metal and strange symbols that glowed faintly. The air smelled sterile, cold, and foreign. Alien leaders, some humanoid and others monstrous in appearance, stood around him in a circle. Their cold eyes were fixed on him, studying him like an insect under a magnifying glass. Jason, battered and bruised, had no words for them, just a cold, steady stare. They thought they had already won. They thought humanity was a thing of the past. After Earth's destruction, after the fall of their cities and the burning of their home, the aliens had concluded that humans were weak, insignificant, and easily crushed. The last remaining human, Jason Black, was nothing more than a trophy for them, a symbol of their victory. The alien emperor, a massive being encased in glowing golden armor, stepped forward. He was the largest and most terrifying of them all, his eyes glowing a sickly green as they locked onto Jason. His voice echoed through the chamber as he spoke in a booming, almost mocking tone, "This is it, the last of humanity, the last of your kind. You are a reminder of the past, a past we have long forgotten." The alien emperor raised his hand, signaling the guards to bring Jason to the center of the room. They shoved him forward, and Jason stumbled but didn't fall. His legs were weak, but his spirit remained unbroken. The emperor's words continued to echo in his mind, but they didn't touch him. He had faced death many times before, and each time, he had found a way to survive. This time would be no different. Around him, the alien leaders chuckled. They were sure of their victory. They thought that this was the final moment where humanity would be erased once and for all. Their laughter was cold, mocking, as they looked down on him. To them, Jason was nothing but a relic of a dead world, no different than the dust that had once been Earth. Jason's mind raced. This wasn't how it was going to end. He couldn't let them win. Not like this. The world had already been destroyed once, and he would be damned if he allowed these alien tyrants to erase what was left of humanity. His jaw clenched, and his heart pounded in his chest, not with fear, but with something stronger. A rage, a burning desire to fight back. The Emperor lifted his hand again, signaling the guards to prepare for execution. Jason's throat was dry, but he didn't flinch. He wasn't going to beg for mercy. He had no intention of begging for his life, especially not from these monsters. If he was going to die, he would make sure they understood something first. In the silence of the chamber, Jason spoke, his voice calm but full of conviction. "You'll regret underestimating us," he said, his words cutting through the tension like a knife. The alien leaders, who had been laughing moments before, now looked at him with confusion. "What did you say?" one of the aliens asked, his voice a low growl. Jason's eyes never left the Emperor's. "You think we're finished. You think you've won. But you don't know what you've just unleashed." The aliens laughed again, dismissing his words as the delusions of a broken man. They didn't understand. They didn't know what Jason had activated, the device hidden in his wrist. They had no idea that it was the last weapon in humanity's arsenal, a secret weapon designed to turn the tables in the final moments. The guards, towering over Jason, began to bind his arms and legs, preparing him for execution. They didn't care about his words. In their minds, he was nothing but a final, insignificant piece of human history that was about to be erased. The Emperor raised his weapon, a massive, gleaming blade that shimmered with a cruel, deadly edge. Jason's heart raced, not out of fear, but out of anticipation. He knew what was about to happen. This was the moment. As the Emperor lifted his weapon high, ready to deliver the death blow, Jason's fingers tightened around the hidden device on his wrist. With one swift motion, he pressed the button. A pulse of energy erupted from the device, and suddenly, Jason was surrounded by a brilliant glow. The energy flowed through his body, and the exosuit, powered by cutting-edge AI, began to materialize around him. The suit was sleek and metallic, covering him from head to toe. It was a marvel of human engineering, capable of enhancing his strength, agility, and combat skills far beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. The room fell into stunned silence as the glow surrounding Jason began to dissipate. The exosuit was complete, transforming Jason from a prisoner into a warrior. His body was now enhanced, stronger, faster, and more dangerous than the aliens could ever have imagined. The glow around him faded, revealing a new Jason, one that the aliens had never expected to see. The aliens stood frozen in shock. The Emperor's blade, which had been poised to strike, now hovered uselessly in the air. The power that Jason had just unleashed was beyond their understanding. The guards backed away, fear beginning to seep into their expressions. Jason stood tall, his breath steady despite the chaos unfolding around him. He felt the power of the exosuit surging through him, every movement precise and controlled. His muscles, enhanced by the suit, rippled with strength. His senses were heightened, every detail of the room clear in his mind. His eyes locked onto the Emperor, who now looked like nothing more than a scared animal. "You should have never underestimated us," Jason said, his voice cold and filled with the promise of revenge. The aliens had made a grave mistake, one they would regret for the rest of their lives. The Emperor, for the first time, showed a flicker of fear. He had seen many enemies, but none like this. None who could turn a moment of certain death into the birth of something far more dangerous. Jason had just proven that humanity was far from defeated. With a single motion, Jason activated the exosuit's weapons. A surge of energy flowed through the suit, and in an instant, he was moving faster than the aliens could react. The first guard lunged at him, but Jason dodged, moving with the fluidity of a predator. His enhanced strength allowed him to overpower the aliens effortlessly, tearing through their ranks as if they were nothing. The battle had just begun, and the aliens were about to learn the hard way that humanity had never truly been defeated. Jason Black's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. The moment his exosuit fully activated, he felt an overwhelming surge of energy pulse through his veins. Every muscle in his body became strong, his senses sharper, and his mind more focused. It was as though he had become something more than human, something the aliens had no chance of understanding or combating. In that instant, the restraints that had bound him to the execution block became nothing more than flimsy chains. With a roar of defiance, Jason's powerful arms tore through the metal shackles that had held him in place. The alien guards around him, who had once believed him to be helpless, now watched in absolute shock as the human prisoner, once at their mercy, began to break free with unimaginable strength. The exosuit amplified his every movement. Jason's reflexes were now so fast that he barely registered the alien guards as they lunged at him. His body seemed to move on its own, the suit's advanced AI anticipating every attack, making his responses faster and more precise than any human could ever hope for. As one guard reached for his weapon, Jason reacted instantly, spinning around and delivering a crushing blow with the suit's enhanced strength. The alien soldier was sent flying across the room, crashing into the wall with a sickening thud. The other guards didn't even have time to react before Jason was on them. He moved like a blur, his enhanced suit allowing him to move faster than their advanced sensors could track. The first guard's blaster was knocked from his hand before he even realized what had happened. The next alien soldier fired his energy weapon, but Jason vanished in a flash of light, activated by the suit's cloaking device. The aliens stood in stunned silence, their minds struggling to comprehend what was happening. This was impossible. The human they had captured was supposed to be weak, a symbol of their victory. Yet here he was, tearing through their elite soldiers with ease, as though their best technology was nothing more than a toy in the hands of a child. One of the alien commanders, a tall figure with purple skin and multiple glowing eyes, shouted orders in a panicked voice. Prepare the defenses. Activate the energy shields. Summon reinforcements. But it was already too late. The human had the element of surprise, and he wasn't going to waste it. Jason reappeared from thin air, his cloaking device flickering just long enough for him to land a decisive blow on the next soldier. The alien's body dropped to the floor before it even had a chance to scream. Another guard tried to raise his weapon, but Jason was faster. The human's new strength was overwhelming, and with one swift movement, Jason snatched the alien's blaster from his hands and aimed it back at him. A single shot sent the soldier sprawling to the floor, dead before he hit the ground. The aliens were in chaos. Their once pristine fortress, which had been designed to withstand attacks from the most advanced species in the galaxy, was now crumbling under the assault of a single human soldier. Jason was unstoppable. The suit's plasma cannons hummed to life, firing concentrated blasts of energy at the alien soldiers who dared to stand in his way. The explosions rocked the walls, sending debris flying through the air, creating a storm of destruction that overwhelmed their defenses. Jason didn't stop. He was like a force of nature, cutting through the alien defenses with precise, brutal efficiency. His mind was focused entirely on his mission, to show these aliens that humanity was not something they could just erase. The invaders thought they had wiped out Earth, but they hadn't understood one thing: humans never give up. No matter how hopeless the odds, humans always find a way to fight back. As Jason tore through the alien stronghold, the air was filled with the sounds of blaster fire, explosions, and the screams of dying soldiers. Alien soldiers tried to regroup, but they were no match for Jason's speed and power. The exosuit granted him access to technology far beyond what the aliens could comprehend. It was as if Jason had become a walking weapon of mass destruction, his every move calculated, precise, and deadly. In the midst of the battle, Jason's mind raced. He had one goal: to reach the heart of the alien fortress and cripple their ability to fight back. He knew the longer he fought, the more attention he would draw. But he had no choice. This was the only way to send a message. The aliens needed to understand that humanity was still here, still capable of incredible power. As Jason advanced deeper into the heart of the fortress, he noticed the aliens were starting to retreat. Their soldiers were falling back, trying to regroup, but their morale was broken. They had never seen anything like this before. They had underestimated the human spirit, the human will to survive and fight. The exosuit was a game-changer, but it was Jason's heart, his refusal to give in, that had made the difference. The next phase of the battle began to escalate. Alien soldiers were firing everything they had at Jason, but his exosuit absorbed most of the energy, protecting him from the barrage. The AI inside the suit adjusted his movements in real time, guiding him through the storm of blaster fire and explosions. Jason's instincts, honed from years of combat experience, complemented the suit's advanced technology perfectly. He was unstoppable. Suddenly, the alien emperor's voice crackled over the intercom, his tone dripping with anger. "You dare challenge me, human? You will pay for this insolence." But Jason wasn't intimidated. His eyes narrowed as he approached the central command room, where the emperor was waiting. The battle had been fierce, but it was far from over. The real fight was about to begin. The aliens were in disarray. Their once pristine fortress, a symbol of their superior technology, was now a battlefield, torn apart by the might of a single human soldier. The alien empire had underestimated humanity, and now, they would pay the price. Jason's war had only just begun. The tide of battle had shifted. Jason Black was now at the heart of the alien fortress, tearing through its defenses with the might of his exosuit, a weapon the aliens couldn't comprehend. But despite his newfound strength, he knew the battle wasn't over. He couldn't do it alone. With every moment, the aliens were regrouping, preparing for a counterattack. He needed backup. Jason's wrist, still glowing with the remnants of his suit's energy, flickered as he accessed a hidden signal device embedded beneath his skin. It was a last-ditch measure, one of Earth's most secret technologies, designed for situations like this, when humanity's survival depended on calling for help against overwhelming odds. The device was small, inconspicuous, but it had been carefully crafted for one purpose, to reach out to Earth, to bring humanity's fleet to the rescue. His fingers hesitated for a moment as he scanned the room, ensuring no alien soldier was near. With a steady breath, he activated the signal. From deep within the dark expanse of space, a beacon shot into the vast nothingness, traveling faster than light. It wasn't just a call for help, it was a promise. A promise that humanity, once thought wiped out, would return. In an instant, Earth's last remaining fleet, long thought lost, responded. Up in the star-filled sky, cloaked warships began to emerge from the depths of space. The sleek and imposing human fleet had been waiting, hidden in the shadows, for the right moment to strike. They had been out of sight for years, but now they were back, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. Back on the battlefield, Jason saw the first signs of the human fleet's arrival. The ground trembled beneath his feet as explosions rocked the alien fortress, but these explosions were different. They weren't coming from him. They were coming from above. In the vastness of space, the alien homeworld, a jewel of dark metal and glass, was suddenly lit up by the flare of incoming human warships. Their sleek forms, like shadows in the night, descended upon the unsuspecting alien fleet. The humans had arrived, and the alien forces were unprepared. The alien commanders watched in horror as the human ships moved with terrifying precision. Their warships were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. The technology was far more advanced than the scattered, forgotten humanity the aliens had remembered. Human ships cloaked themselves, invisible to alien sensors, slipping past the enemy's defenses like ghosts. The battle began in the silence of space, with the alien forces still reeling from the unexpected appearance of the human fleet. The clash of titans was inevitable. The human fleet attacked with a combination of advanced tactics and cutting-edge technology. Each ship in the fleet was equipped with the latest AI systems that could predict and counter the enemy's moves before the aliens even realized what was happening. The precision of their attacks was like nothing the aliens had ever encountered. Their own fleet, once confident in its technological supremacy, now faced an adversary whose tactics were a step ahead at every turn. As human warships launched precision strikes against the alien ships, the AI within the ship's systems analyzed every move, calculating the most effective methods of attack. The humans didn't just fire blindly. They were calculated, using the element of surprise and their superior intelligence to outmaneuver the aliens at every step. Alien vessels, once thought invincible, were torn apart by human firepower. The battle became a brutal dance of destruction, with human ships slipping through enemy lines, launching surprise attacks, and then vanishing again, cloaked and untouchable. The aliens, in their overconfidence, had never considered the possibility of being outsmarted. Now they were learning the hard way. Jason, still fighting his way through the alien fortress, could feel the ground shaking beneath him as the battle raged in space. The alien empire, once so certain of its dominance, was now on the verge of collapse. The resilience of humanity had been underestimated, and the aliens were beginning to realize their mistake. As the human fleet continued its precise, calculated assault on the alien forces, Jason felt a rush of hope that he hadn't felt before. For years, humanity had been thought to be gone, erased by the very aliens they now fought. But here they were, a force to be reckoned with, fighting back with everything they had. Jason paused for a moment, taking in the chaos around him. The alien soldiers, once so sure of their victory, were now in disarray. The human fleet was everywhere. Their ships moved with such grace and power that it was as if the very stars themselves were fighting against the aliens. The alien forces were retreating, scrambling to regain control, but it was too late. The battle in space was a turning point, a symbol of humanity's resilience and its refusal to be erased. The humans weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting to reclaim their place in the galaxy, to prove that they were far more than a lost species. They were a force to be reckoned with, and no empire, no matter how advanced, would ever take that from them. The alien empire, which had once ruled with an iron fist, now found itself crumbling under the relentless assault of human resilience. Their forces, which had seemed invincible only hours ago, were being torn apart by the precision and power of Earth's fleet. The humans were fighting not just for their own survival, but for the future of their species. They would no longer be the forgotten race, erased from the history books. As the battle above the alien homeworld raged on, Jason's eyes narrowed with determination. This was just the beginning. The aliens had made a grave mistake, and now they would pay for underestimating humanity. The fight was far from over, but with the human reinforcements arriving, victory was no longer a distant dream, it was within their grasp. Jason wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, he was fighting for every human who had ever been lost, for every person who had ever been forgotten. The signal had been sent, and humanity's vengeance was just beginning. The alien forces, though stunned by the arrival of the human fleet and Jason's brutal assault, were not defeated yet. They still had one weapon left, the deadliest of all, a massive AI-controlled warship, capable of annihilating entire fleets with a single strike. The warship was the heart of their military might, a floating fortress powered by a network of advanced AI systems designed to predict and counter any attack. To the aliens, this was their final weapon, the one thing that could turn the tide of the war. But Jason and his team weren't about to let that happen. They knew that if they could destroy this warship, the alien forces would crumble, and the fight would be over. It was a risky mission, perhaps the most dangerous one they had ever attempted, but Jason had no other choice. He activated the next phase of their plan, and his team sprang into action. The warship loomed overhead, its massive form casting a shadow over the battlefield. It was heavily guarded, with every inch of its surface covered by alien soldiers, drones, and defensive systems. The ship's AI was nearly invincible, analyzing every move of its enemies with lightning speed. But Jason had one advantage: the human fleet had already made its mark on the alien forces, distracting them and pulling their attention away from the real threat, the human team on the ground. Jason's team infiltrated the warship's defenses, using the advanced cloaking devices and technology from the exosuit to slip past the enemy's sensors. They moved quickly, silently, like shadows in the night, inching closer to the warship's heart, the AI core that controlled everything. If they could get there, if they could plant the explosives needed to destroy the ship's main engine, the warship would be powerless. But as they neared their target, the stakes grew higher. The aliens began to realize that something was wrong. They had been fooled, and their prized weapon was under threat. The warship's AI reacted instantly, sending waves of drones and security systems to intercept Jason's team. Every step they took was met with fierce resistance, and it became clear that not all of them would make it out alive. Then, in the midst of the chaos, it happened. Lieutenant Bonner, Jason's closest friend, made the ultimate sacrifice. Bonner had always been the heart of their team, brave, strong, and fiercely loyal. He had fought alongside Jason through countless battles, and their bond had only grown stronger with each mission. But now, in this moment of crisis, Bonner knew what had to be done. He knew that they couldn't afford to fail. With alien drones closing in and the AI warship systems beginning to lock onto their location, Bonner made a choice. He would give his life to ensure the mission succeeded. Jason and the rest of the team watched in horror and disbelief as Bonner made a final, desperate charge toward the AI core. He activated the explosives, setting them to detonate, and held off the alien forces for as long as he could. His sacrifice ensured that the warship's main engine would be destroyed, but it also meant that he wouldn't make it out alive. As the timer counted down, Bonner's final moments were filled with nothing but the knowledge that his actions would save them all. "Go!" Bonner shouted, his voice filled with determination. "Finish this." With that, Bonner detonated the explosives. The warship's core exploded in a burst of light and fire, sending shockwaves through the alien fleet. The warship was destroyed, and with it, the alien force's strongest weapon was gone. The remaining alien ships, now without their command center, began to fall apart. The human fleet, guided by their superior tactics and the leadership of Jason and his team, began to press their advantage. The tide had truly turned. The destruction of the warship sent a powerful message to the alien empire. Humanity was not a weak, primitive species to be crushed and forgotten. They had fought back, and now they were winning. The alien forces, once so confident in their superiority, were beginning to crumble under the pressure of humanity's relentless resistance. But for Jason and the team, the victory was bittersweet. Bonner's sacrifice weighed heavily on them. His death created a deep emotional bond among the surviving soldiers. It was no longer just about survival, it was about honoring Bonner's memory, about ensuring that his sacrifice meant something. Every soldier on the battlefield felt the loss, and it fueled their determination to see this through. They would win, not just for themselves, but for Bonner, for every fallen comrade, and for every human who had ever been underestimated. Jason felt the weight of his friend's death more than anyone. He had lost many people in his life, but Bonner had been more than a friend, he had been a brother in arms. With every step Jason took toward the final confrontation with the aliens, he carried Bonner's memory with him. It was that memory, that unbreakable bond, that pushed him forward even when things seemed impossible. And then, as the battle reached its peak, victory became a reality. With Bonner's sacrifice, the alien forces had been defeated. The massive warship was gone, and the alien fleet began to crumble. Their control over the battlefield was lost. The human fleet, now fully in command, moved in for the final strike. The alien empire, which had once believed itself invincible, now faced its downfall at the hands of the very species they had once considered beneath them. The humans had won. Against all odds, they had triumphed. It wasn't just a victory of strength or technology, it was a victory of spirit, of willpower, and of the unbreakable bond between comrades. Jason knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. They had proven that no empire, no matter how powerful, could ever break the human spirit. As the last of the alien ships were destroyed, Jason looked up at the stars, a heavy weight in his chest. Bonner was gone, but his sacrifice had not been in vain. Humanity had triumphed, and the universe would never forget that humans were no longer a forgotten race. They were a force to be reckoned with. The final confrontation had arrived. The battle for the alien homeworld had reached its apex, and the fate of humanity rested in the hands of a few brave soldiers. The humans had already made a significant dent in the alien forces, but now they had to face their greatest challenge yet, the alien emperor himself. This was no longer just a fight for survival, it was the final showdown between good and evil, between humanity and the empire that had sought to crush them. The humans landed on the alien homeworld under heavy fire. As their boots hit the alien soil, they were immediately met with resistance. The alien soldiers, more numerous and technologically advanced, came charging at them in waves. The humans fought back with all the ferocity they could muster, their weapons blazing as they cut through the alien ranks. Jason, with his exosuit still fully powered, led the charge, moving like a blur through the battlefield, taking down alien soldiers with swift and calculated precision. But the battle was not just a fight of gunfire and explosions, it was a brutal war of close-quarters combat. The alien soldiers, strong and fierce, were no strangers to hand-to-hand fighting. Their sharp claws and enhanced strength made them formidable opponents. But the humans were not easily intimidated. Jason and his team fought with a mix of discipline and raw determination, their every move driven by the knowledge of what was at stake. They were fighting not just for their survival, but for the future of humanity. The battlefield itself seemed to reflect the chaos of the fight. The skies above were filled with streaks of fire as orbital bombardments rained down from the human fleet above. Massive explosions rocked the ground, sending plumes of dust and debris into the air. The human soldiers pushed forward, dodging blasts and returning fire as they made their way toward the alien emperor's palace. The palace loomed in the distance, a towering structure that had once symbolized the alien empire's power. But now, it seemed like the last symbol of their arrogance, a final fortress that stood in the way of human victory. As the human forces advanced, the alien structures around them seemed to fight back, their defenses designed to repel any intrusion. Massive alien drones, heavily armed and highly intelligent, patrolled the area, and advanced energy shields protected the city from attack. But the humans were prepared. With their advanced cloaking technology and the strategic use of their firepower, they cut through the alien defenses, creating a path toward the Emperor's palace. The closer they got to the palace, the more intense the battle became. Alien soldiers and drones swarmed the area, trying desperately to halt the human advance. The humans fought through them, pushing forward step by step, each victory bringing them closer to their ultimate goal, to confront the alien emperor and end his reign of terror. Jason's mind was focused entirely on the task at hand, but in the back of his mind, he couldn't help but remember everything that had led to this moment. The fall of Earth, the sacrifice of his comrades, the countless battles they had fought to get here. It all led to this final confrontation. He couldn't afford to fail. Not for him, not for the team, and certainly not for Bonner, who had given his life so that humanity could survive. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of fighting, Jason and his team reached the steps of the Emperor's palace. They stood before the massive doors, the heart of the alien empire just beyond. The air was thick with tension, and the silence was deafening for a moment before the doors opened. Inside, the alien emperor waited. He was a towering figure, regal and terrifying, his alien form draped in flowing robes of a dark, iridescent material. His eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and his voice echoed with the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. For so long, the emperor had believed humanity was nothing more than a fading memory, a race doomed to extinction. But now, as he gazed upon Jason and his team, he realized the terrible truth: humanity was far more than he had ever imagined. "You think you can defeat me, human?" the Emperor's voice rang out, cold and cruel. "I am the ruler of a galaxy that has known nothing but power for millennia. You, a primitive species, are no match for me." Jason stood tall, his exosuit powered and ready. He knew this was it, the moment they had all been fighting for. "We've already defeated you," Jason replied, his voice steady and filled with resolve. We've beaten your soldiers, your warships, your technology. And now, we're here to finish what we started. The Emperor laughed, his voice booming in the palace. You're nothing but insects to me. I've crushed entire civilizations. What makes you think you can stand against me? The Emperor raised his hand, and the air around him crackled with energy. He summoned a massive storm of power, hurling bolts of dark energy toward Jason and his team. But Jason was ready. He activated the suit's shields just in time, deflecting the blasts. The Emperor's power was immense, but it wasn't enough. The human spirit was stronger. Jason's team charged forward, their weapons firing and their tactics coordinated. The Emperor's dark energy storm intensified, but it was no match for the ingenuity and determination of the human forces. Jason moved with precision, dodging the Emperor's attacks and closing the distance between them. In a final, desperate move, the Emperor unleashed everything he had, summoning a wave of dark energy that filled the entire palace. The air crackled with electricity, and the ground shook beneath them. But Jason wasn't about to let this be the end. With a roar, he launched himself toward the Emperor, his suit's plasma cannons firing with deadly accuracy. The Emperor raised his arms to defend himself, but it was too late. Jason landed a direct blow, striking the Emperor with all his remaining strength. The palace trembled as the Emperor let out a final scream, his body disintegrating into nothingness. The battle was over. The alien empire had fallen. Humanity had won. Jason stood victorious, the weight of the battle and the loss of his comrades heavy on his heart. He had led them through the darkest of times, and now, he had delivered them to victory. The alien empire, which had once ruled with an iron fist, was no more. And humanity, against all odds, had triumphed. The final assault had been won. Good had triumphed over evil, and humanity's resilience had proven that no force in the galaxy could ever break them. The final battle had come down to this. Jason, the last hope of humanity, stood face to face with the alien emperor in a one-on-one duel. The palace around them was silent, the air thick with the tension of what was about to unfold. It was a moment that would decide the fate of the galaxy, and Jason knew he had to give everything. He could feel the weight of his fallen comrades on his shoulders, their sacrifices fueling his every move. The fight had been long, but now, it all led to this final confrontation. The alien emperor, once untouchable, stood tall, a symbol of his empire's unchallenged dominance. His dark, glowing eyes narrowed as he assessed Jason, who stood resolute before him. The Emperor's technology and AI-enhanced abilities made him a terrifying adversary, a being of immense power. His armor, woven with alien materials, radiated a faint, menacing glow, and his body hummed with energy as he prepared for battle. "You think you can defeat me, human?" the Emperor sneered, his voice carrying a cold, mocking tone. "You are nothing. My empire has crushed entire civilizations. You are but a fleeting memory in the vastness of the universe." Jason stood firm, his exosuit humming with energy, a contrast to the Emperor's dark aura. "You've underestimated us all along," he replied, his voice unwavering. "That's been your biggest mistake." Without another word, the Emperor lunged forward, his movements lightning fast. He unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, each one powerful enough to obliterate a small building. Jason narrowly dodged the first few, using the exosuit's enhanced speed and agility to stay one step ahead. The alien Emperor's strength was immense, but Jason's resolve was stronger. With every move, Jason remembered the faces of those he had lost, Bonner, his team, the countless lives sacrificed for this moment. The Emperor raised his hand again, this time summoning a massive energy storm around him. Dark, crackling energy swirled like a vortex, and the ground beneath them trembled. Jason could feel the pressure building, but he didn't falter. He was determined to finish what had been started. With a roar, Jason charged forward, using every ounce of strength and speed his suit could provide. The energy from the Emperor's storm slammed into him, but he pushed through, his exosuit absorbing most of the impact. In a flash of light, Jason closed the distance between them and swung his weapon, a powerful energy blade, directly at the Emperor. The blade collided with the Emperor's shield, causing a shockwave that sent them both reeling. But the Emperor wasn't done yet. He unleashed a series of brutal, AI-controlled strikes, each one calculated to incapacitate his opponent. Jason barely managed to block the attacks, his suit struggling to keep up with the Emperor's relentless assault. The Emperor's movements were precise, his AI-powered reflexes a deadly advantage. Jason's body ached from the force of the blows, but he held his ground. Then, in a moment of clarity, Jason remembered something crucial: the Emperor's arrogance. He'd relied too much on his technology, his AI, and his power. He believed himself invincible, unable to fathom the true strength of humanity. Jason realized that was his weakness. The Emperor had underestimated the human spirit, the will to survive. With a sudden burst of energy, Jason broke through the Emperor's defenses. His exosuit's weapons powered up, and with one final strike, he shattered the Emperor's shield. The alien Emperor staggered back, stunned, as Jason pressed his advantage. In a swift, decisive move, Jason drove his energy blade into the Emperor's chest, his final act of defiance. The alien Emperor let out a screech of pain and disbelief as he collapsed to the ground. His body disintegrated into a burst of energy, leaving nothing behind but the echo of his defeat. Jason stood over him, breathing heavily, his mind racing as the reality of what had just happened settled in. The alien empire had fallen. The galaxy, once under the oppressive rule of the Emperor, was now free. But even in victory, there was a sense of solemnity. Jason's comrades, those who had sacrificed their lives to get to this moment, were not there to witness the end. He looked down at the ground, his heart heavy with the weight of their loss. The victory had come at a great price, but it was one they had all been willing to pay. Humanity had triumphed, but the cost was more than just lives lost. It was a price that would echo through the stars forever. As the battle subsided and the alien forces retreated, the remaining leaders of the Empire knelt before Jason, their once proud figures broken. The alien soldiers, the generals, and the commanders who had followed the Emperor's orders without question now looked to Jason in fear and awe. They had seen firsthand the power of humanity's spirit, the unyielding force that had destroyed the empire they had built. The alien leaders begged for mercy, their voices trembling as they realized the truth. "We were wrong," one of the alien leaders pleaded. "Please, show us mercy. We did not understand. We thought you were weak, but we were mistaken." Jason's eyes hardened as he stared at them. The power to decide their fate was now in his hands. He had been given the chance to show mercy, but at what cost? The aliens had taken everything from humanity, their homes, their families, their future. And now they begged for mercy. Jason took a deep breath, his mind clear. "You wanted to destroy us," he said coldly, his voice carrying the weight of everything humanity had endured. "But we are not just humans. We are survivors." His words rang out across the battlefield, a final declaration of humanity's strength. The galaxy would know the truth now: humanity, once thought weak and insignificant, was a force that could not be ignored. The alien empire had fallen not because of technology, but because of the spirit of those who refused to back down, who fought not just for survival, but for the future. As the alien leaders left, defeated and humiliated, Jason stood tall, the weight of the universe on his shoulders. The war was over, but humanity's legacy was just beginning. It was a legacy of resilience, courage, and an unwavering belief in the power of the human spirit. And that legacy would live on, etched in the stars, for as long as the galaxy remembered.